All right, well, good morning, gentlemen. Figured, hey, after what we saw though that over the last 5 6 days, it was worth doing a video today. I can actually breathe through my nose, so that's helpful. But I figured let's talk about what happened and where we go from here. So, uh, start out pretty simply. We got a Bitcoin weekly chart up in front of us here. Clean it all up. There's nothing for you to see besides candles and moving averages. Um, I said last week the only thing I was really looking for was to see the week close above the 50 moving average. Well, not only did it close above it, but then within minutes at a time, I guess maybe a couple hours at a time, the weekly candle closed. Boom, we get another, I don't know, three, four, $5,000 worth of price action to the upside. Um, and at this point, looking at the chart, you can see pretty easily this is a strong weekly resistance and support level. It's been tested one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, basically 9 times. And it's only been able to get above it one time. So, good chance that we might spend a little bit of time messing around with this level here. The 21 moving average is going to act as one of two things for us here. It's either going to act as a magnet and it's going to draw the pricing action up to it. So maybe we see a move into the 43, let's call it 44 range. Man, who knows? Maybe even honestly up to the bottom of this. So let's say maybe 46 range even, possibly see a move up into there, possibly back test some of the prior levels. But realistically, if we come back here and look over the history of Bitcoin, there's not a ton of times that it's come back and touched the 50 moving average and then even mess with it again for a while. Here you got to tap down on the 50 moving average. Went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 10, 20, 20 weeks before it even came back to touch the 21 moving average. So at this point, the goal is going to be to get above that. We'll see what happens. But as of right now, pricing action is looking pretty good. Let's flip it over to the daily here. I think this will kind of paint a little picture. Oh, and to the point of the weekly, you'll notice here, this is a beautiful thing, at least as a start. Right here, we've basically got a buy on the stochastic RSI on the weekly chart. So that's a huge deal. Um, Down here, this doesn't show up as quite that much of a breakout when I put the lines back on there, but nonetheless, I mean this is all very positive looking for what we've got here. Let's go ahead and flip it over to the daily. Like I said, let's get the pictures back on here. But again, one of the other big things will be that as we're going along here, the all of these different moving averages, they're going to act as support, resistance. They're going to act as a magnet. They're going to act as they're going to turn the pricing away. Right now we're sitting here. We've moved up just beyond let's see, 2150, 80 moving average. We pushed up basically to the 100. So really, at this point now, I'm just going to be looking to see where we find a support level. Busted through a pretty strong resistance here at about that 35,000 range. So my expectation would be that maybe at some point here over the coming days, maybe we actually see a retrace and a retest perhaps of this 50 moving average. And by the time the 50 moving average, would come into play, this 21 should be moving right up under the pricing action as well. So let's pretend for 1 second that we do see a pullback, which would be perfectly normal. I mean, Bitcoin has added. Let's do a quick measurement here. Bitcoin has added approximately, 36% in the last 5 days, basically 6 days. So good chance we see a pullback here pretty soon and something just to retest support. Again, this is going to be where I'm going to be looking right here, somewhere in this range, maybe somewhere in this range. Depending on what you want to call the blast off, this was it right here. So maybe we come back and test 35.5, somewhere in that range. If we can get a test and a confirmed support there, I mean, man, it's off to the races at that point. So, that's going to be the big thing is we don't want to come back in here and touch this cellar dwelling garbage anymore. Let's get the chart put back together. So, a couple different quick things. Um, The biggest thing that I'm going to be looking for here coming up in the following days. So we've got a stochastic RSI that's way up here in overbought territory on the daily. However, it is not into sell territory yet. So for the moment, should still see some limited upside. The RSI though, I mean, just look at this thing, just blast off. I mean, I could probably get rid of all these other lines, but I mean, you could see it there in the background. I mean, this thing just blasto straight up out of there. It's not quite too oversold or overbought territory yet. So, if Bitcoin's just going to keep rocking and rolling to the upside here, realistically, you could see this thing just keep popping all the way up into the 70, 80 range. Before a potential pullback. It's tough to say at the moment, but that's one thing that could come into play. Moving it to the shorter time frames, just so we can kind of get a feel. 12-hour, same concept. I mean, this thing is just rocked to the upside, completely overbought for days now. RSI up here, I mean, it's at 80 right now on the 12-hour. So, I mean, there's going to have to be some level of pullback. Maybe it comes up here and taps 40,000, 41,000 again. But, I mean, goodness, it just can't keep up that torrid pace. On the 4-hour, I found this kind of interesting here. So the stochastic RSI is painting a picture that that we could continue this little uptrend here. Every time it's tried to come down and fall below this line, it hasn't, and then it actually has maintained this upward trajectory here on this trend line. The other interesting thing is we've just had this crazy price action. I mean, so it all started right here. You draw out that trend line. Well, boom, we get a blast off up to this area here, which, if we come back over to this trend line, it got rejected there, spent, several days, I guess, several hours at least, bouncing around in this 4-hour. Then we got a boom, jump up here. We get another essentially rising channel, fall out of it just to rebound up above it. Now we're actually onto this trend line that started way back over here. So if I'm looking for a place for Bitcoin to potentially find support for now, I think this is the line that I would be looking for, which jibes pretty well with the idea that maybe we can find support here at 35.5 or so, because at that point, this would be the line that the pricing action should fall back onto. Whether that actually happens or not is another story, but that would be what I'm looking for here. The interesting thing too is that when we busted out of this formation here, this little descending channel, the measured move would have taken us right here to exactly 36.7 or so. But interestingly enough, I think what ended up happening too is this ended up turning into a rising wedge based off of here and here. So if we go ahead and take that and add that on top of the rising wedge, now all of a sudden we've hit that $38,000-$39,000 range, which is exactly where we're sitting at the moment. So, TA still working. It does what it's supposed to. Just unfortunately can't predict the future. So let's hope that what happens here. I don't necessarily want us to hold this upper line here. I mean, it's the RSI is so overbought right now at 84 almost. So we don't really want to hold this upper line much longer. We want it to come back. And again, realistically, maybe it comes down here, retaps this line. Who knows? Maybe that brings us down in this 36.9 range, and then maybe we come back down here and pick up this or this line. As long as we end up staying above this level, this approximate 56 level, I would say that the upside continues. I mean, we can pull everything back here, and really we haven't been above that 56 level a whole lot lately. This breakout here, this quote unquote breakout here on this inverse head and shoulders pattern. So yeah, I mean, I think that at this point, just kind of holding that 56 or above level on the 4 hour is going to be what we're looking for to see the upside continue. Ideally, we don't want to be way back down here anymore. At some point, who knows? Maybe we come back here and we retest this daily breakout as far as on the RSI. But for right now, hey, let's enjoy what we've got in front of us there. Again, at some point, we're going to get a pullback. So just be prepared that will take place. When, goodness, who knows at this point, because Bitcoin is bullish. But again, let's assume that this line and then this line end up being a valid pattern. Let's assume we don't fall out of it until somewhere over here. So let's go ahead and measure our move and see if maybe somewhere over here looks good. Oh, how about that? We're right back here in this, say, 33, 34, 35 range. And it wouldn't be a surprise to see a wick pull back into here anyway. And that also lines up very nicely to something else. That would be the 200 simple moving average on the 4-hour chart. So yeah, a back test of the 200 simple moving is probably pretty logical. Now the only question becomes: is this pricing action already too far blown out for this to matter? We've got a potential golden cross coming on the 4-hour chart there. That looks to be, let's call it anywhere between 4 and 24 hours from now. Does it push the pricing up again? Goodness, who knows? But if it does, probably going to get stopped out here or here again. So should be interesting. But yeah, I'm going to be looking for Bitcoin to hold this trend line on the stochastic, meaning that essentially I don't know that we're going to see a huge pullback today. As long as it holds this trend line, my expectation would be that we actually continue, maybe come down a little bit, but then push up again, as long as it holds that trend line. Again, this part right here, tough to say at the moment, but my goodness, wow, speechless. Hopefully we can make some good money. Let's go ahead and prepare for big things.